All right, everybody, welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Mm-hmm.
Today we're going deep on DOGE.
DOGE.
The Department of Government Efficiency.
Yeah.
Elon Musk's at the helm.
Right.
Cast by President Trump himself to slash federal spending.
Yeah.
It's like massive government spring cleaning.
Huge undertaking.
Yeah, and they've uncovered some pretty wild stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Already, and we're going to talk about all that today. But
we are.
You know what I think what's really interesting is the potential savings here.
Billions.
Billions.
Yeah.
Potentially saved, which means more money back in our pockets.
Well, it's a huge undertaking, no doubt about it.
Right.
The federal budget is a behemoth.
Yeah.
With both discretionary and mandatory spending.
Right.
DOGE is focusing their efforts on discretionary spending.
Okay.
The funds Congress approves each year for various agencies and programs.
So that's where they can make the most immediate impact.
The most immediate impact.
Yeah. So where did DOGE start digging?
Yeah.
And what exactly did they find?
One of the first things they uncovered
Okay.
was the fact that we're spending billions to maintain empty office buildings.
What?
Remember the work from home boom during the pandemic?
Oh, yeah. Everybody was at home.
It seems the government didn't quite get the memo.
Wait, we're paying for buildings no one is using?
That's right.
That's going to add up fast. How much are we talking?
Billions, potentially.
Billions.
It's a prime example of the inefficiencies DOGE is trying to eliminate.
Right.
And think about it. Every dollar saved on those empty buildings is a dollar that could potentially be used for something else.
Like lowering taxes.
Like lowering taxes.
Okay, that's one for the wasteful spending file.
Hmm.
What other gems did DOGE unearth?
Well, they found $6 million allocated to boost tourism in Egypt.
Okay.
Through USA, the U.S. Agency for International Development.
Okay.
Now, whether or not that's a worthwhile investment is debatable,
Yeah.
but it's certainly an expenditure DOGE felt could be cut.
I mean, I get it. Egypt has those amazing pyramids and all.
Right.
But $6 million.
$6 million?
That could be $6 million less we have to pay in taxes.
That's right.
It's starting to feel like every little bit counts.
Absolutely. Every dollar saved is a step towards a more efficient government.
Right.
And potentially lower taxes down the line.
Okay.
And speaking of things that add up, DOGE discovered that the Department of Defense spent a cool $200,000 on Starbucks espresso machines.
Okay, I love a good latte as much as the next person.
Okay.
But $200,000 for espresso machines.
For espresso machines.
That's a lot of caffeine, even for the military.
It's these kinds of seemingly smaller expenses that, when added together, contribute to a culture of wasteful spending.
Yeah.
And DOGE is taking aim at those, too.
Okay.
But they're not just looking at frivolous spending. They're also examining larger programs like the $400 million going towards presidential campaigns.
$400 million for presidential campaigns. Shouldn't the political parties be footing that bill?
Well, it's a complex issue with arguments for and against public financing of elections. DOGE seems to be taking the stance that it's an unnecessary expense.
Right.
And reducing it could contribute to overall savings.
Right.
Which could eventually lead to tax relief.
Okay, so if we cut that, could we see a direct impact on our taxes, or is it?
It's not a direct correlation, but it's certainly a contributing factor to the overall picture.
It's certainly food for thought.
Yeah.
What other programs caught DOGE's attention?
Well, they found millions being spent on DEI training programs.
DEI.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion, particularly at the Pentagon.
Okay.
They also flagged a specific program costing $2.6 million to train students in critical race theory.
DEI is a hot-button topic these days.
It is.
It'll be interesting to see how those cuts play out.
Very much so.
What about COVID relief funds? Were there any surprises there?
DOGE uncovered some interesting findings there as well.
Like what?
They discovered nearly $32 million went towards luxury cars.
Wow.
And there were billions in improper payments to businesses. They also found that New York used part of its $9 billion federal COVID relief fund for training staff.
Oh, boy.
In things like culturally responsive sustaining instruction and recognizing equity warriors.
Equity warriors. That's a new one?
Yeah.
It sounds like DOGE is uncovering a lot of spending that many taxpayers might find questionable.
That seems to be the case.
Yeah.
And the list goes on.
Oh, there's more.
They found $1.2 million allocated to study whether racism causes bad sleep in minority communities. $426,250 for an app to encourage Latino men to exercise,
Right.
and even a $1 million environmental justice center in West Harlem,
Okay.
one of the most expensive neighborhoods in New York City.
$1 million for an environmental center in one of the priciest zip codes.
That's right.
So it does seem a bit out of place.
Yeah.
What else did DOGE dig up when it comes to environmental justice?
Well, they found a $50 million grant going to an anti-Israel group and a total of $3 billion in similar grants, many of which went to organizations accused of being partisan.
Okay.
All of these findings paint a picture of potentially misallocated funds and raise questions about government spending priorities.
It sounds like DOGE is on a mission to expose wasteful spending.
It seems that way.
And redirect those funds to more pressing needs. And hopefully some of that savings will trickle down to us taxpayers.
That's the hope. Remember, DOGE's primary goal is to reduce the federal deficit.
Right.
But a lower deficit could lead to a more stable economy, potential tax cuts, and a healthier financial future for everyone.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Now, DOGE isn't just about uncovering these expenditures.
Right.
They're taking action. And it's been swift and decisive.
So tell us, how are they actually cutting these programs?
Well, they've been canceling contracts left and right.
Okay.
Especially those related to DEIA initiatives.
Okay.
For instance, they axed 85 DEIA contracts across more than a dozen agencies, saving roughly $1 billion.
$1 billion. Now, that's what I call efficiency.
That's a lot of money.
Imagine how much lower our taxes could be if we could find $1 billion in savings every year.
It's a significant amount.
Yeah.
And a sign that DOGE is serious about making changes.
Okay.
They've also been terminating leases on those underutilized office buildings we talked about earlier.
Right, yeah.
Just in 1 week, they canceled 22 leases, saving $44.6 million.
They're not just trimming the fat. They're cutting entire limbs off the government spending tree.
That's a great way to put it.
And every branch they cut is potentially more money in our pockets.
And remember that scholarship program for students in Burma?
Oh, yeah.
They canceled that too, saving another $45 million.
So it seems like they're really focusing on that discretionary spending you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the area where they have the most flexibility to make changes without needing major legislative approval.
Makes sense.
But they're not just quietly making cuts behind the scenes.
Oh, no.
Did you hear about what they did at USAI?
Oh, yeah, that was big news. What exactly went down there?
DOGE took a very bold approach.
Okay.
They literally took USAI's website offline and barred employees from entering headquarters.
Seriously, they just shut it all down.
They did. All direct hire personnel were placed on administrative leave.
Wow.
And the administration even considered merging parts of USAID with the State Department.
Wow.
It was a major shakeup.
Talk about sending a message. It sounds like no agency is safe from DOGE's scrutiny with all these actions. How much are they actually saving?
That's the big question everyone is asking.
Yeah.
DOGE claims to be saving about $1 billion per day, primarily from halting unnecessary hiring, eliminating DEI initiatives, and stopping improper payments.
$1 billion a day, if that's true. We're talking about some serious savings.
It's an impressive claim.
Yeah.
But there is a catch.
Oh, what's the catch?
DOGE hasn't provided a detailed breakdown of their cuts, so it's unclear exactly how they're calculating these savings.
So while they're touting these massive savings, there's a lack of transparency around the numbers.
Yes, and Musk has stated that this initial amount needs to increase to over $3 billion per day.
$3 billion per day.
With ambitions to eventually hit a whopping $4 billion per day in reductions.
Wow, $4 billion a day.
Yeah.
That's almost too big to comprehend. What does that mean for the average taxpayer? Could we see a significant decrease in our tax burden?
It's definitely a possibility.
Okay.
While DOGE's primary focus is on reducing the federal deficit, not directly cutting taxes, those two things are certainly connected. A lower deficit could lead to more economic stability, potentially paving the way for future tax cuts, or preventing future tax hikes.
So maybe not an immediate tax cut party, but the long-term implications could be huge.
Absolutely.
This is all about setting the stage for a healthier financial future.
Absolutely. It's about creating a more efficient and sustainable government that works for its citizens. And potentially putting more money back in your pocket in the process.
Yeah, that's something we can all get behind.
Yeah.
It really is. It's pretty incredible to think about, you know, the potential impact DOGE could have on the country's finances.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about billions of dollars in savings.
Yeah.
Imagine what could be done with all that money.
It's a game changer for sure.
Yeah.
And the implications go far beyond just, balancing the budget.
Right.
A lower deficit could lead to lower interest rates,
Okay.
making it easier for you to buy a home or start a business.
Right.
It could also free up resources for investments in infrastructure, education,
Yeah.
other areas that benefit everyone.
So while DOGE's main focus is on the big picture of the federal deficit,
Yeah.
there's a real possibility that we'll all feel the positive effects in our own lives.
Absolutely. A healthier economy benefits everyone.
Right.
And when the government is running more efficiently,
Yeah.
it can potentially lead to lower taxes or prevent future tax increases.
It's a win-win situation.
It is.
So speaking of wins, what are some of the other potential benefits we might see from DOGE's actions? What else could this shakeup mean for the average person?
Well, it could lead to a more streamlined and effective government.
Okay.
With less bureaucracy and wasteful spending,
Right.
agencies could potentially operate more efficiently
Okay.
and deliver better services to the public.
I mean, that would be a welcome change. It feels like we've all had our fair share of frustrating experiences with government bureaucracy.
It's a common complaint for sure.
Yeah.
But with DOGE pushing for greater efficiency,
Yeah.
we could see improvements in everything from processing times for applications
Okay.
to the overall responsiveness of government agencies.
Okay, that's exciting. Less time on hold, more efficient services.
Yeah.
Those are changes we can all appreciate.
Absolutely.
But, we've also talked about some potential downsides.
Yeah.
What are some of the risks involved in DOGE's approach?
Well, one concern is that in their effort to cut costs,
Yeah.
DOGE might inadvertently slash funding
Oh.
to essential programs that people rely on. Things like healthcare education
Yeah.
and social safety net programs could be at risk.
So it's important to find that balance between fiscal responsibility
Right.
and ensuring that vital services are protected.
Exactly. It's a delicate balancing act.
Yeah.
And it remains to be seen how DOGE will navigate these complex issues.
Right. It's definitely a high-stakes situation with a lot of unknowns, but it's also an opportunity for a major reset, a chance to rethink how our government operates
Right.
and ensure that it's serving the needs of its citizens effectively.
And hopefully in a way that benefits your wallet, too.
That's right. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into DOGE. We've seen the eye-popping expenditures they've uncovered, the swift and decisive actions they've taken, and the potential for both positive and negative consequences. It's a story that's still unfolding, and it'll be fascinating to see how it all plays out.
It will.
But one thing's for sure, DOGE is shaking things up,
They are.
and the ripple effects will be felt for years to come.
It's a reminder that we, the taxpayers, have a voice in how our government operates.
That's right.
Stay informed, engage in the conversation,
Yeah,
and make your voice heard.
that's great advice. And until next time, keep diving deep, keep those brains engaged, and remember, knowledge is power and potentially lower taxes.